Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You know, this is Sunday. Over here, as you already know, this is your U.S. General 5-drawer 2-cart with side tray and deep compartment. As you already know, I always keep my Dunkin' Donuts coffee lingering somewhere in the background. I put out a review a few days ago about a snap-on Flexhead bent handle ratchet. And why is it that all two brands out there who make all sorts of different types of tools and all sorts of different type of ratchets, why isn't it that there is any major tool brands out there who have designed a lock and flex head bent handle ratchet? So we're gonna get back into that topic. This is gonna be part 2 and a follow-up to that first video, and we're going to get into some ratchets, and we're going to get into a couple of other items in discussion. We'll be right back. Okay, now as you can see, we got the drawer open, and as you can see, there's all sorts of basically different type of ratchets. In that last previous video, I did state that the bent handle is one of my most go-to ratchets out of the selection that I basically use. If you take a look at the ratchets and you take a look at the back of the 3/8 bent handle, you could basically tell the difference between all the rest of the ratchets. You can tell that they're slightly a little wear. As you already know, we have all sorts of different type of ratchets and different type of designs out there. So we're going to get back here, and as you can see, back here is a 3/8 100 tooth roto head ratchet, which has that roto head design. Then we get here, this is a 3/8 multi-position locking standard handle ratchet. Then this one here is an 18-inch half-inch locking flex head. Then you get right here, that's a 3/8 locking flex head. This one here is a half-inch standard handle. Then you get here, this is a 1/4-inch flex head non-locking. Then you get here, this is a 1/4-inch standard handle. This that's running all the way down here is a half-inch non-locking. Then you have a 3/8 extended long handle flex head non-locking. Then as you can already see, this is the 3/8 bent handle. Then here you have a 1/4-inch flex head locking. Then this long one here is a 24-inch half-inch locking flex head. So as you can see, we have all sorts of different designs, and back here you have your 1/4-inch roto head, and right here is a 1/4-inch quick release standard handle locking flex head. So in that previous video, as I basically said, the 3/8 non-locking flex head bent handle is one of the ratchets that I go to basically the most, and I go to this ratchet because of its bent handle. And not for nothing, that's a feature beyond features, beyond some of the other ratchets that you basically seeing laying here in the drawer. And there's for many reasons why. When using this ratchet, I can get into very close, tight spaces, and with the bent handle, I can maneuver around a lot of different obstacles with this ratchet. Now, in that first previous video, I didn't really state or really show the different techniques and different angles basically that you can perform and get in on certain specific specifications and certain jobs with this ratchet. So I'm going to pause the video for a second, and we're going to get right back to it. Okay, now as you can basically see, I have the ratchet sitting at the top of the chest. And if you notice the position that I have the ratchet in, it's hard for me to hold the ratchet and record at the same time because I don't basically have anybody around to record me while I'm doing this. So as you can see, the position that I actually have the ratchet in, and as you can see, it has an extension on it with a low profile oil filter socket. The reason why I put it in this position so that you can see it is because as mechanics and DIY is, we always known speed handles and how speed handles is more enough kind of obsolete nowadays due to the fact of we have other tools that basically replace the need. But this is another reason for why I really like this ratchet is because when I am able to basically get in closed tight spaces and maneuver around obstacles, then as you can see, when I'm spinning the ratchet in reverse, I can flip it in a certain angle and basically get the same feature as if I was using a speed handle. Now, with a regular flex head or locking flex head that actually has a straight handle, you will not be able to get the same type of leverage with holding the ratchet. So this is why this bent handle really comes into play a lot. So I'm gonna give another view and option of something. Hold on. Okay, now as you can see, I basically have a universal on extension, and we all know what we can do basically with universals. So just imagine and think about the positions that you can get in with a bend handle with extension and universal, with being able to maneuver around certain particular obstacles. But what make the feature a whole lot much more better, even though it's flex, is if it actually did have a locking mechanism to lock the head in a particular position. Okay. Now, as you can see on the extension, I have a universal pinless wobble extension. So you also know the type of positions that you can get with a universal wobble on a flex head, but with an extension with a bent handle, where that now you can get deep down in the engine compartment and be able to maneuver around obstacles with the bent handle. Okay. Now, basically, I wanted to come back to this setup, which you can see the low profile socket on extension, right? And give you a good idea. Hypothetically, say you was doing an oil change and you had to remove an oil filter housing cap. Sometimes, depending upon where the housing is at, it's kind of hard to reach. Sometimes you have to use a universal, or sometimes a longer extension like this, right? And sometimes there are plenty of other different parts at sometimes that are needed to disassemble in order to get to that housing, right? But this is the purpose of, having your extensions. But if this bent handle actually had the locking feature, which it becomes very handy in certain situations, and then certain situations you actually don't need it. So therefore you can have the locking mechanism off. So I'm gonna get back to it. Just give me a second. Okay, now as you can see, I don't have the extension on the ratchet, but as you notice, I just simply have the low profile socket on the ratchet. Now, the reason why I just did that is because with certain oil filter housings, some of them sit underneath the manifold. And when you're disassembling and removing it, sometimes the manifold blocks it from you screwing all the way up, especially with a deeper socket, and sometimes you can't get an extension in there. So with this bent handle, you can still basically get that speed handle effect, and you could get up underneath without actually having to disassemble other parts. And what would make the feature a whole lot much more better is if they actually designed this handle in a locking flex head. So this is why I don't understand, why isn't it that all these tool brands out there who design all of these flex heads, locking flex heads, roto head ratchets, multi-position ratchets, standard handle ratchets, why isn't it that any of these tool brands have not designed a locking flex head bent handle ratchet, when this is basically one of the best ratchets on the market to have, especially in the 3/8 design? Now, in half-inch design, we mainly more use half-inch when it comes to bigger jobs, such as suspension work and a few other different things. But the 3/8 ratchet is one of the most common ratchets that a technician or a mechanic will have in their hand most of the majority of the day. We also use 1/4" tools, but 1/4" sizes we go to rarely, depending upon what the work is, which is technically more lighter type work. But your 3/8 is what you basically hold the most. Okay, gonna get back to this. Okay, so now as you can see, you have your multi-position 3/8 ratchet, but only on a multi-position lock-in you can only swing from left to right with these ratchets. So basically this is the only performance and only feature that you're gonna basically be able to get out of this type of ratchet for whatever specification or job that you're basically gonna do, testically compared to a flex head bent handle. And if the flex head bent handle was actually locking like the multi-position locking. Okay. Okay, so now as you can see, we got our 3/8 roto head 100 tooth, and the position that it holds is like a flex head and a standard handle at the same time. But then the head basically can spin in, what is it, 180 degrees, I believe. And it can also be used as if it was a nut driver in the opposite position. So basically, this is the position that you would be able to get the roto head in. Okay. Okay, so that's basically, just a touch on the mini ratchets and the mini ratchet designs that we basically have out there. And like I said, I just don't understand throughout all the tool brands and the tool makers that are basically out there, why isn't it that no one has figured it out, or why isn't it that no one has created or designed a locking flex head bent handle ratchet just yet, throughout all the many different ratchets that we actually have. At the prior moment, I don't have a low profile ratchet, but I'll soon will be adding one into the collection in a 3/8 regular short standard handle. Until then, I guess when I do have them on deck, I'll throw them in a review for the viewers to see. So now we're going to get into the next topic. So just give me a second. Items out. Get everything prepared for you. Okay, as you can see, what I have basically over here on the side tray in the back is a 64mm flute. These are basically designed for Toyota and Lexus Scions and basically a few other vehicles. And as you can see right here, this is, I think, a 20 to 21 inch half-inch breaker bar. This is a Proto USA made breaker bar, and as you can see, this is a half-inch snap-on breaker bar adapter. And this tool right here is basically used to remove battery terminals, and you can also remove wiper arms from off a vehicle. And over here you basically have a snap-on steel brush. Steel brush shouldn't really be in this video, but it's just there. This particular tool right here becomes very handy in certain situations when you basically have battery terminals that are very swollen, and the battery terminals are very corroded. There's been plenty of times where I've seen people, they try to pry the terminal off where that is corroded so bad that the terminals wind up either breaking in half because they're rotted and corroded so bad. This is the excellent tool for that application when you run into a situation like that. And basically this tool will actually keep it from cracking or breaking in half, because the force is actually being applied from up underneath, and the mechanism that sits in the center is extracting it, so it's taking away the tension. So I would definitely suggest a tool like this. Recently, I was working on, it was a Volvo. I can't think of what model it was at the prior moment, but on the battery it had all sorts of sensors that was actually connected, like other devices that was connected to the terminal. And basically the terminals was all swollen, and the brackets was very corroded. And this came in very handy because the other tech was having a hard time basically getting the terminals off. So I just happen to have this tool, happen to help the gentleman out in removing the battery and replacing it without damaging a customer's vehicle. So if you don't know about this, this is, definitely a handy tool to use. Okay, so now we're gonna get into this adapter, and basically why I bought this adapter and how I use it, and how handy it actually really comes in. There's a reason why I have this half-inch breaker bar and half-inch flute back there that's a 64 millimeter, because when you're basically doing something simple and light, just as oil changes, and there's different type of filters in different vehicles. Some hold the housing, some hold the oil filter can. And as you can see in the back, it has its half-inch dimension, which you can basically use a half-inch ratchet, a half-inch breaker bar. I did suggest, I think, what is it, 23, or what is that, 23 or 24 millimeter? Yeah, fits exactly 21 millimeter. And as you can see, locks in pretty tight. But the reason why I have this adapter, because sometimes when you basically have a vehicle on a lift, depending upon how much room you have, and it also depends upon what type of ratchet you're using, whether you have a short handle half-inch, sometimes you may not have the proper leverage depending upon what type of size ratchet. So sometimes in certain situations, when something is completely over tightened and you don't have enough leverage on your ratchet, or you doesn't have enough space to make the turn in order to basically loosen it up, like as you can see down here, I do have a half-inch 18-inch extended handle snap-on lock-in Flexhead ratchet. But I actually go to this breaker bar in those particular situations. In the beginning, I don't necessarily put the adapter on right away. I normally just take the flute and I lock the flute basically into the breaker bar. Then once I crack it, then I actually put the adapter on, which goes in reverse, and As you can see, in reverse and forward, as you can see, it has its how it flicks back and forth. It's hard for me to do this with one hand, but you'll get the idea. And basically now you can get that ratcheting feature out of your breaker bar to be able to remove and quickly tighten it back up. So these particular tools right here, they definitely come in handy when needed. Makes your job a whole lot much more easier. You'd be surprised, and a whole lot much more efficient and productive, getting you able to just run through vehicles and run through cars and get them in and out quick. Okay, so just to touch on that a little bit, we'll get back to it. Okay, I gotta get back to work, so that's gonna be you know, little review today and little topic today. And as you already know, this is your US General 5-drawer tool cart with side tray and deep compartment until, you know, we come along with the next topic to talk about, or we get the next new tools. You'll be the first to see and the first to know. You know, y'all have a good day and a blessed day out there, and enjoy yourself. Keep it safe as always. So I'll check you later. Peace.